Superliminal is not a well-known game. It has a niche audience compared to games I've talked about before like the Stanley Parable, but it's a game that I absolutely love and hate. Superliminal is a puzzle game developed and published by Pillow Castle in 2020. It was initially a demo called the Museum of Simulation Technology a couple years before. Its main mechanic is moving things based on your perspective, as in let's say you pick up an object, raise it up, then drop it. You see, in real life nothing would really happen besides the object falling and maybe breaking. In Superliminal, if you do that, the object will be bigger than it was because the said object looks bigger than it did when you picked it up before dropping it. I realize that is a big over-explanation, but it's what makes Superliminal the game that it is. In today's video, I want to talk about the game, what I like about it, and obviously talk about the important things that happen during the game. But before I start, I just have to ask you one thing. Please enjoy the video. Spoiler warning as always, play this game if you haven't, it's on Xbox Game Pass. Thank you. Superliminal follows you, an unnamed player, going to the Somnosculpt Dream Therapy at the Pierce Institute after what I assume is you, the main character, watching a commercial about it telling you that the therapy will help you with your feelings of worthlessness and self-doubt. The first section of the game helps you understand the mechanics, putting you through various tests while some voice in the background pops in and out to tell you about the dream therapy. Before the end of it where you're stuck in this empty room where you're told not to go through the final doorway, the thing is, you can't go to the final doorway, as it's just a brick wall. You can however use the mechanics you've been using throughout this section to go out of this room and proceed to the next level, which now puts you into the next phase of Somnosculpt Therapy. The next section messes with you by giving you a bunch of optical illusions that are a part of the puzzles that you solve throughout it. This is also the first time we hear the voice of the lovely Dr. Glenn Pierce.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce.
Dr. Pierce is a king, we stand him here. And this is where we also find out that apparently nobody knows where you are since you've gone beyond the level in Dream Therapy you or anyone else for that matter were supposed to go. He shows up 2 more times during this section telling you that they still can't find you. The third time you hear him, he tells you that he and the others put some elevators in the sections to gradually wake you up. The way you exit the section is quite unique, as you have to change your perspective of the moon to get to the door that will lead you to the first elevator that Dr. Pierce put in the Dream Therapy to get to the next section. This next section is alright. I personally don't care for this one. It's not good nor bad, just kinda not the best one in my opinion. This one messes with you by changing your perspective on cubes. Every time you pick up or drop a cube, it does something odd. Nothing really important happens in this one, so I'm gonna move on. In light of the last section, the next section is one of my favorites. In this one, the game messes with you by making you think there is a murderer out there to get you. The game uses tactics like shutting doors at the last second, having red liquid all over the floor, and just a lot of things that really had me paranoid first time playing it. It also has this pretty funny bit at the end where it turns out that all the blood was red paint and that we were just in a state of mind where we actually thought there was a murderer after us. Kinda like taking a walk at night by yourself. Definitely one of my favorite parts of the game. This next section is all about the perspective on cloning things. Every puzzle in this one is about cloning objects. This one is alright. I enjoyed it, but it is a little annoying, especially the part with the clocks. Oh my god, make it stop! This next section has a different beginning from the rest. Instead of doing the exact same thing and going to the exact same room as you have been throughout the game, you instead go to the relaxation room, which is a room with a video of clouds with some calm audio and music playing in the background. Just something I thought I'd mention as I thought it was pretty cool. This section changes your perspective by changing the sizes of various objects throughout it to get to the next point. All I have to say is that this part was very frustrating and I would rant about it, but I don't want this video taken down. From this point forward, this is where the game gets a little weird. You are now at this place as opposed to the place you are usually supposed to be. The first voice we heard at the beginning of the game tells us that we can't even get to the emergency exit protocol as we've gone too far deep into the dream therapy for it to work, then tells you to continue the dream therapy on an independent basis. We then proceed to have repeated sections of you waking up in the bedroom, turning off the alarm clocks, and trying to proceed with the dream therapy before getting woken up again by the alarm clocks. Until we get to this point where instead of being on the floor, you're on the walls. When you fall out of the room, you're now over here, where you turn off this alarm clock and are now in the bedroom normally this time, where you are now trapped inside. It's only brick walls you can see where your exit would have been in. You exit the room by grabbing this painting, then entering in Super Mario 64 style, except not as cool. The main portion of the section now starts where Dr. Pierce congratulates you for completing the orientation protocol and welcomes you to the first phase of the real therapy before cutting off. This section messes with you by making you think you're gonna do the same things you have been doing throughout the game before doing something completely opposite of it. There is this puzzle section where you have to choose which way is the doorway, which can be frustrating when you first play it, but once you get the idea, it should be fairly easy. A little after that, it goes into this section where every time you try to pick up an object, it goes to another thing, which I personally thought was really well done. When you're done with all that, you are now in what looks to be a parking lot. Walking far enough will now show you that these are weird looking walls. When getting the sides to look like walls, a small room pops up. It's your bedroom with the alarm clock in it, which you click on to get to the next section. The next section starts in this odd room. The voice is back to tell you that you have entered a dream that patients shouldn't have access to. You can now pick up the Somnoscope building and put it through this door, which creates a looping set of rooms that you go through to overload the dream paradox into exploding. This leads into this portion of the game, which changes your perspective by making you shape the way you see things and turning one thing into another. For example, this staircase is a pathway into this room one way, then an actual staircase the other. There's also this really cool part where you turn off a light, and you will probably wait a while before the next thing loads, even though it's right behind you. Seeing that for the first time made me feel so stupid, but also made me feel so impressed on how smart the game developers were for doing that. While you play this portion, Dr. Pierce will give various speeches about seeing things from different perspectives and how important they can be. This section has a lot more cool moments, one of these being the chess part, where the chess squares are holes until you put the pieces on them. I tend to think to myself while playing the game, what were the developers on when they made this stuff? Because the things they do in this game are so good, it makes me think that they couldn't have been in a normal state of mind while making them. This section ends with you falling through this hole to reveal a screen clock. That's just a perfect way to end this section, because after this, there's only one thing left to do in the game, and it is my absolute favorite part. This is the last section of Superliminal. What you do in this section is unlike the rest of the game. While going through a part of every level backwards, the game gives you a nice message that has kinda stuck with me ever since I first heard it. I don't think that my interpretation of the message could really do it justice, but I'll try, only because I don't really want to spoil the message for you guys. It's really something you have to experience for yourself. The message, without saying it in full, is about perspectives and how seeing things differently and thinking outside of the box is a good thing, and how doing so can really help you in the long run. The game, according to the message, was really about seeing things differently and not giving up no matter how hard things are. It's a great message that, again, my words couldn't do justice for. So again, I ask you guys, like I did in the beginning, please play Superliminal. It's on Game Pass and it's $20 on Steam. Trust me when I say it is worth it. Superliminal was not the best game I've ever played. There's definitely games out there that aren't as frustrating with its mechanics and probably would have been a better waste of my time than playing this. But for what it's worth, Superliminal is amazing. The frustration I had playing it for the first time back in June is probably the fondest memory I have about it. It was definitely a cool experience, and the nice message at the end made it a lot more special for me. If Pillow Castle makes another game, I'm definitely going to play it when I hear about it. Superliminal was an enjoyable game that had me in frustration yet in utter awe from the stuff this game had pulled. Once again, please play the game if you already haven't. It's definitely worth it, and you can probably beat it within a few hours the first time playing through. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like as always, and if you're new, please subscribe. Seeing how this is my first video of 2023, I would hope to get to 1K by the end of the year, but just like last year, that's probably being too optimistic. Whatever happens this year, I'll make videos when I can, and I hope you all will enjoy them. Anyways, this has been radsterr. Thank you for watching.